The episode opens with the cute redhead getting some gas at the truck stop of doom, where she sees several suspicious figures before her car is eventually attacked and the monster of the week comes in and carries her off. We then cut to Sam and Dean, who get a call and go rushing off. They get to meet Donna. And it turns out Doug is there from her previous adventure. Come to find out, the redhead that was kidnapped is her niece, so this hunt is going to be a personal family affair. While they're investigating, asshole FBI agent shows up and asks, "Hey, what are you doing with my case?" Dean has a moment of quick thinking, explains, "Oh, this is personal for us." He's like, "Oh, okay, well, here's what we know about it so far." "Sam, what's that on the wall?" "It's a clue map. We used to do those too." "Oh, right." Asshole FBI has been hunting this guy for a while, but this time he's hoping he's found him. Donna interrogates this guy and is telling him all, "Come on, we know you're guilty. You're a Christian in a Hollywood production. You're always guilty." And he replies, "Nuh-uh, check your time code. We're only halfway through the episode." Shnikes, he's right. He's totally innocent, guys. We gotta keep looking elsewhere. The group then runs down this Weasley guys, who reveals to them that there's a section of the dark web occupied by monsters, call it Monster Chan, where people are being auctioned off for food. They're all appropriately horrified and figure out where this is and go rushing off to save them. During this exchange, Sam gets knocked out and caught by the asshole FBI guy. Turns out Doug gets turned into a vampire by the little Weasley nerdy dude. And then Donna and Dean pretty much take him out to figure out where Sam is being located. In the end, they cure Doug, rescue Sam, and he resolves that he really doesn't want to be involved in the spin-off with Donna or anything and is going to go do his own thing while Sam and Dean have their usual discussion about life and the universe and everything while driving home. Meh. This episode was just okay. I mean, there wasn't anything really bad canon-wise, and the acting was just kind of okay. There are 3 points where I thought it could have been interesting. It gone in unique directions, and they're not mutually exclusive. It could have done one or all 3 of them, but one would have been the episode to have kind of a dark humor running gag of everybody trying to keep the secret of monsters away from Doug, and this could have even led to a running thing in the spin-off series where they're always coming up with more elaborate and sillier excuses to explain what Donna is up to this week to Doug, and he just keeps believing it. And you could even have a moment where you wonder, is Doug really this dense, or is he just going along with it? The second avenue is earlier in the episode, Dean used a CB radio, and let's be honest, the CB and ham radio phenomenons back in the day were really kind of a nascent internet. You know, they were the original chat rooms. I was kind of hoping that we'd have a situation where, since Dean used the CB radio to get clues and aid the hunt earlier, that later on the episode, Sam would use the internet to rescue Donna's niece. Because then you have the symbology of Dean, the older brother, using the older forms of chat rooms, while Sam, the younger brother, is using the younger forms of chat rooms, and it would create a nice parallel. And the third aspect is that the idea of a monster network using human trafficking is one that you could actually, it may not be able to carry an entire season, but it's one you could get 2 to 4 episodes of a mini arc out of. I mean, for one thing, I'm kind of disappointed they didn't bring back a Leviathan as being behind the whole thing, just because that would have been a nice callback to the 7th season, and kind of makes some weird sense that after their plan fell through, they were taking on a different version of it. The episode never explained clearly whether the FBI guy and the man in the suit were humans just taking advantage of a business opportunity, or monsters adapting to the new world. Considering they died of regular gunshots, I I'm tempted to see them as just human, but if they didn't bring back Leviathan, I'm really disappointed they didn't bring back Crocata from episode 314, Long Distance Call, because that was kind of their thing back then of using technology to get victims, and this would make a lot of sense to them to get a victim and suck out their soul and then sell the remains of their body to other monsters that want to feast on it. Really, so much of this episode felt like it should have been a season prior, where you could have had Brandishment of Letters, say, tracking this international business of monsters and, say, having traced the origin of it to America and then making an effort to try and unravel and break this trafficking ring with methods that are kind of ethically questionable, to give the boys a real debate over, is bringing down this monster ring worth the price that the British Men of Letters are demanding of them? And is there ways that they can put a stop to this without having to cross? And I'm just kind of disappointed that the episode brings up this interesting idea, but doesn't go in a whole lot of places that it could. I mean, the dark web is in a lot of ways kind of a modern day boogeyman, where there's a little bit of truth to the horror, but it's kind of exaggerated a little, and everything's a bit more complicated than people might realize, which is kind of the way Supernatural's always handled monsters. A little bit of truth, a little bit trickier too. And so the idea of old monsters now being involved with the new modern day monster is kind of interesting from a philosophical standpoint, but they didn't really go into that either. As for, Donna and Doug, I mean, of course, I love seeing her, and I can't complain too much about the show making her single for those of us guys who want to hope, but I thought Doug was pretty likable, and it is kind of interesting to see him opt out of the hunter life, but I'm kind of just a little bit disappointed that they did it so stereotypically and didn't try to change it up a little bit. Like, what if Doug actually turned around and was super competent at it and actually had all the makings of being a really great hunter and then decided not to do the life? Instead, he kind of reminds you a little bit of Garth with a little bit less charm. Nothing on the actor, it's just the writing. And DJ Qualls is just a really charming fellow, too. Sam and Dean had some decent character moments in the episode. It's interesting to get some spotlight time now. I think the debate at the end would have had more weight had Dean been the one to be kidnapped and Sam to go after him. Then Sam's emotional struggle with losing people would make a little bit more sense since having nearly lost Dean. Side note, it did really bug me that asshole FBI guy put a gun up to Sam's head. I mean, it's great that he was smart about it. It wasn't going to delay the killing, but, we have seen monsters in the show that like brains. Why are you going to put a bullet through his head and not try selling that contents to race or somebody else? I mean, the whole operation seemed kind of inefficient from a business standpoint. I mean, they didn't have sluices to try and gather up the blood to sell to vampires or djinns or any of those creatures. And it would have been more terrifying to have villains that are more competent at their efforts. Anyway, the other thing is that just the speech and exchange between the brothers just felt extremely played out. Like we've seen it dozens of times before. And I wish they'd figure out some way to do it a little bit more. I mean, maybe have one of them have the moment with Donna while the other one has it with Doug. We're getting too many D's on this show. It's getting to be a tongue twister. Or if maybe even the characters acknowledge, hey, I've told you this before. We've got to, hey, what do I always say? And then, Sam replies, we got to keep pushing. We got to get through this, and so on. It just felt it just didn't feel like it really went anywhere, nor that it had much in common with the theme of the episode. I mean, is it just Kaya's death that's kind of shaking Sam up? Why didn't he experience any of this when Eileen died? Is the revelation of this, dark net depressing him with the thought of how much they have to fight against? So that's why I'm giving the episode about a C minus, or 2.5, 3 out of 5. It's just barely competent. There's ways that the episode could have gone to kind of make it stand out more and to explore more storytelling ideas and possibilities. I mean, I love the idea of this Monster Chan being a possible arc villain for the Wayward Sisters. Given Donna and Jody's law enforcement background, what if they get on a task force that's trying to take this down while the rest of the task force doesn't realize, the truth of what they're fighting and everything, that it all just came off as solved at the end of this was just really disappointing to me. And it didn't really have any surprises or anything unpredictable. I mean, what if the asshole FBI guy says they always kidnap people that aren't connected? So what if, when he realizes that, oh, we've messed up, we've got somebody that has connections to hunters, he offers them, hey, here's the girl back, y'all can take her, and we're all cool, and then just disappears off the grid and such. I mean, do they take the deal? Do they give them a head start? Or that's a consideration for the guys? That's something Donna can argue for or against. There's just so many routes that you can go through this that it's disappointing that the episode was as cliche as it was for such a fairly creative idea. So that's why I'm giving 13.11 3 out of 5.